Shauna Keough, President of U.S. Public Relations at Syneos Health, talks to host Doug Simon on PR's Top Pros Talk.
Shauna, what do you see as the key role of behavioral science in enhancing the agency-client relationship?
At the end of the day, it really helps us understand the behaviors and the mindsets of our client. So ultimately, we can flex better for them and understand what's important to them and deliver more impact.
And behavioral science, how do you go about assessing that from the client perspective? Is it
Sure.
something you're upfront about? Is that's a key part of the process, or are you sort of finding out about them through clues? How do you go about it?
It's been a journey and it's been a little bit of both. I think for a long time, client service has always been a passion point of mine. And with the transformation after transformation after transformation that's been happening in the industry, we have been thinking about the importance of really those relationships, right? Because we have seen clients ping pong all over the place. And at the end of the day, it's about building those client relationships for life. And we've spent a lot of time talking about really getting to understand and know who your client is and knowing them outside of work and what are their hot buttons and their the bees in their bonnets and all of those kinds of things is where we started. And then we thought about, we work a lot with behavioral science when it comes to the work that we're doing for our clients, right? It's all about getting to the hearts and the minds of the healthcare professionals and the patients. And we look at the data and we try to interpret the data and we pull out those insights. And we are lucky enough to have a team of behavioral science at Syneos Health. And we thought, imagine if we actually do what we do for our clients to our clients or in partnership with our clients. So that was sort of the genesis of the idea, is taking that special sauce of understanding what our clients, what we know about our clients, and adding that scientific rigor and understanding and that behavioral science lens to understanding the relationship even more.
Yeah. So how do you navigate? Because obviously there are different folks that you're dealing with on the client team, and they may have sort of different outlooks, both on life, on the work, on how they
Yeah.
approach things.
Yes.
So can you utilize sort of different techniques based on the behavioral science? And sometimes there can be friction at the other companies and the client. Like, how do you navigate
Yes.
all those different
Doug, it's like
elements?
you're a behavioral scientist in your own right. That's exactly what we did with our team of behavioral science. We thought about, what are the behaviors and the mindsets that are really critical for us all collectively as partners with our clients to be able to excel. And we drill in on those mindsets to understand how a particular client is going to show up. And I did it last week for three different clients. It was a new engagement with three different clients, and each one of them has incredibly different behaviors and mindsets. But what it allows us to do is to say, Doug, you need all the detail. I'm going to go and make sure that when I'm talking to your section, I am going to give you as much detail as
Right.
possible. Whereas there might be somebody else who wants to see the big idea and doesn't, and wants to be excited and delighted by the big idea and to move on from that very quickly. And then the other piece, maybe there's someone else who really needs to sort of see the purpose and the passion and what drives that piece of it. So it allows us to connect in to what really makes them tick and sing.
Yeah. So is there an optimal behavioral place for clients to be, or is it always a constant adjustment?
We don't want to change the clients. I think I've worked my entire career in client service. And one of the things that I always say is that you need to be in the space is incredibly flexible and adaptable. And the more that we know about our clients, the better we can show up and provide for them. So it's not about changing, it's just about knowing who you are. So I know what I need to do to show up and I can better understand. And sometimes even answering just a few simple questions, I can better understand how something's going to land better than even the client before they even see it themselves.
In your work, you're doing a lot of learning about how the clients approach decision making to help you
Mm-hmm.
provide the best guidance. In
Mm-hmm.
terms of being a quote, better client, best
Yeah.
client, Is there
Yes,
something on the end client side that they should be doing in general? And this might be advice that's helpful to other agencies, other people,
sure.
so they can improve that behavioral connection and get the most out of the agency relationship.
Absolutely. I mean, when I think about what it takes to be, for us, what it takes to be a good client, it is open lines of communication. It is sharing and oversharing and sharing more, because we cannot have enough information. I think that in order to truly be an extension of our client, they are in meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting and getting so much information day in and day out. And we get sort of, half an hour snippet with them a week. And so the more they can send our way, and that overload of information helps us to be able to just walk a little bit in their shoes. So the more that they let us in and allow us to walk in those shoes, I think the better that we can show up for them.
So right now, because your industry and many of your clients are in a highly regulated space, if they're trying to
Yes, it
take a
is.
drug from, as you call it, oh, we found a molecule in our garage. Now, how do we make that to an FDA approved sellable product?
Yes.
What is the role that regulation plays on to people of different perspectives about that you need to navigate?
Absolutely. That's part of the mindset, right? That for us in healthcare is a huge piece around risk. What level of risk do you have an appetite for? Do you and the company, right? Because you may want to swing for the fences at any given moment, but the company might have a very different look and perspective. So as much as it's about understanding the behavior and the mindsets of the actual client so that we can shore up that relationship and do great work together, it is equally important to understand how that fits into the broader ecosystem.
What are some of the key insights you hope to gain from clients through this process? And how does that affect how you approach being most successful with them from a communications perspective?
That's the super cool thing about behavioral science, is that we are always testing and learning. And so, like I was talking about risk seems like a new piece that we are looking at, just given the volatility of our industry. And what is happening from a communications perspective is where our clients want to sit on the risk spectrum, information around where people the importance of work. Do they want to work to live or live to work? Because that gives us a lot of insight into how they're going to show up day in and day out. And so we really think about what are those metrics that are going to be critical for us to be able to excel? What do we need to know about our client? Yeah, I need to know if my client wants a text or a phone call, but I really need to know if my client is just showing up for the paycheck, or if my client is here and trying to, climb the ladder and looking for new opportunities and to break the ceiling, right? I'm going to show up very, very differently in those two ways.
That's really interesting. And I would wonder, in your new business acquisition process, do you find like, oh, from applying this, this client is not going to be a good fit. This is not going to be a relationship that works.
Because there's no wrong or right answer, it's not that there is, oh, stay away from Doug. He's a no-go zone, right?
Well,
It just
thank you. Thank you for that huge endorsement. Most appreciated.
it's more, this is what makes Doug tick. So then I know how I need to show up for Doug to be able to create the most meaningful relationship. I think the interesting piece of it when you talk about new business acquisition is that there is no one size fits all. So it's not just one Doug in the room. It's, five other people who are in the room. And so we have been using this technique as part of our new business process, but it's interesting for how you show up for all of the different, behavior and the mindset types in that moment. That's a really fun challenge for us.
Yeah, well, clearly, in addition to how much I've been learning from this conversation, I'll be setting up a separate therapy session with you. Are there any
There's no
final?
wrong way, Doug. There's no
Yeah,
wrong way. It's
I
more,
know. Are
I
there?
just want to crack open your brain and understand what makes you tick.
I know. I'm like, oh my God, I'm ready for these insights.
I guess my final thought is what's super important about that is clients really respond to that. Anyone responds when you take the extra time to understand and to get to know what makes you tick. It's all of the, we spent our teenage years doing those Cosmo quizzes and understanding what kind of, grown up am I going to be? It's all of
Mhm.
that stuff. We all like to learn about ourselves. And I love to see that light bulb moment when we unveil the results of the survey, of the test, and people are like, I feel seen. Oh my God, that's exactly me. Yes, yes, yes. It's such a great moment of self reflection. It's not only just a moment of us getting to know them, sometimes it's them getting to know themselves, which
Yeah.
creates a great partnership.
Well, speaking of great partnerships, we're so glad to have you on the show and continued success.
Thank you so much, Doug. I'm happy to be here and hope I get to come back.
You got it.